Hello, I'm Philip Duncan. Thank you for joining us for our Monday weather update recorded on October the 9th. And the week ahead for New Zealand, classic spring. We've got windy west to southwest winds off and on, and it's cooler this week as well, with airflows coming out of the Southern Ocean to begin with, but then later in the week, more so from Australia. So there'll be a little bit more warmth coming back in. But look at this animated wind map at the moment. Low pressure to the east and even more low pressure down here to the south, big storms towards Antarctica. But out to the west, that's high pressure and also high pressure south of Adelaide. So with those two big highs here and low pressure on this side, the squash zone of windy sou'westers lies right here in the middle, where it goes from yellow to purple. So that's the area that's going to see that windier weather. And also, because that airflow is coming from right down here in the Southern Ocean, it'll come up and brush the lower part of New Zealand. Temperatures are going to be well down in Southland this week. You're up around 23, 24 degrees last Thursday. This week, you'll be struggling to get to double digits at times in some parts of the region due to that colder airflow coming in. Let's have a look at rainfall in Australia for the next 3 days. Not a huge amount, just a few showers in the coastal fringes, right around Australia really. But we've got a few downpours bubbling up inland, maybe a few thunderstorms. It only says 5 to 10 millimetres in there, but it might go a little bit higher if you end up with one of those thunderstorms stalling over the top of you. Here we are for Tuesday, and we've got a New Zealand map as well for rainfall, but we'll show you that in a couple of days' time. But first of all, we'll kick off here with Tuesday's weather and sou'westers blowing across New Zealand. It's a windy, cooler day, and most of the wet weather around Southland and then on the western side of the country. Maybe a couple of squally sort of showers in there as well. In Australia, a couple of showers on the eastern side, not much energy with those because of the high pressure belt for you. But over here in Western Australia, in comes the next change. Perth gets a couple of showers, so does Albany, and maybe even getting into Esperance a bit later on. Here's Wednesday's setup. We've got a small area of low pressure just off the coast of Hawke's Bay. That will drive in a little bit of wet weather with an easterly flow for you, but most other places are caught up with that westerly. So showers on the west coast, and the blue line you see there, that's a sign that the atmosphere, the cold is taking a bite out of the atmosphere. So you'll be feeling that colder airflow on Wednesday in many places. But by Thursday, there's a slight change. High pressure up here to the north, so the airflow coming into New Zealand is now coming out from Australia. So even though it's still a sou'wester for places like Auckland and Taranaki, it's a bit of a fake sou'wester because really it's coming out of Australia as a nor'wester and just turning around at the last minute. So it'll be warmer on Thursday, but that also means the rain is about to build up on the west coast. We'll talk about that in a split second, but just quickly, Australia, cold front coming in for you here. Adelaide to Melbourne, get it around about the same time, and then it moves through Tasmania and up towards ACT. So a temperature drop for you and windy and colder, classic spring change coming in for you by Thursday. So let's take a look at the rain for New Zealand here. This is for the 72 hours from Thursday morning, and we've got some heavy rain on the west coast. That purple zone, 125 millimetres of rain, maybe even more for there. So that's a lot of rain building up on the west coast. Elsewhere, we've just got a few showers, but in the North Island, the heaviest falls, around about 20 millimetres or so for that western and southwestern side. But that's a classic sign of west to southwest winds blowing, and the eastern side, mostly dry, as well as Northland and Auckland. Only a few showers making it up to you. Let's go through to Friday. High pressure is right here. Low pressure is down here. The windy weather, the squash zone, mostly over the South Island. But it's a mixture of mild and cold. It's very much spring, where you've got some warm airflows in here and then this colder injection coming out of Tasmania. It's going to be windy in Melbourne on Friday with those west to southwest winds and a few showers. And those windy conditions move all the way up to about Sydney where they fade out. But then there's that surge coming out of Tasmania about to crash over the South Island. That will happen as we go into Saturday. So there it is. Falls apart to some degree. That's the cold front there, disconnected from the low pressure. So it won't be very active, but it shows you the unsettled weather pattern we're going into on Saturday, an important day in New Zealand. It'll be windy with a bit of rain on the west coast, but there will be dry spells. It shouldn't be too bad, really, generally speaking, but on the west coast will be the wettest sort of weather. And obviously over here in Australia, another cold front coming in for Tasmania. May even be a dusting of snow on the mountains in Tasmania. That's all from me for this day. We'll be back again on Tuesday with our next update, where we will be talking about the 7-day Pacific Islands forecast, as well as the outlook for the rest of this week here in New Zealand. So we'll have 2 videos out on Tuesday. That's all from me. We'll see you tomorrow.